Welcome back to Time by the Tent. Happy you have downloaded the program or listening to it online. I'm your host, Joey Baird. Beside me is
Holly Baird.
Holly, let's go to the hotline and bring in our guest for this week.
Joe is the host and founder of YouTube channel St. Bernard Acres, a channel about his journey to building a life of self-reliance in his retirement years. Joe and his wife want to get away from a life of debt and consumerism and enjoy the freedom of homesteading lifestyle. They bought 10 acres with a barn in Guernsey County, Ohio to facilitate this adventure, and they are currently building an off-grid cabin on that property. Welcome to the program, Joe.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Well, we are happy that you've taken time to educate us on some of your experiences. And I'll start with this. When you were looking for property to build this off-grid cabin, you acquired or you bought 10 acres that you have now. Was that the magical number, or was that what was available and you jumped on it?
The magical number, I was thinking I would need 20 acres or more. That's kind of what I was looking for. I mean, not knowing. I'm a city boy, so okay. I've never dealt with the country before. And I thought 20 acres was what you would have to have. But it was difficult to find, and 20 suitable acres that were affordable. And we stumbled across this. This was part of a farm that was split up. And we went and looked on a Saturday at the part of the farm that had the farmhouse on it and drove back to Wheeling. I live in Wheeling, West Virginia. This is in Cumberland, Ohio. And drove back to Wheeling. I called the lady, said, we'll take it. She said, too late. Somebody bought it 30 minutes ago. Oh. And I was like, darn. So she said, did you look at the part with the barn on it? I said, well, we saw the barn, but we couldn't walk through all the brambles and the bushes to get to it. But we went back out there Sunday, and we saw that barn and knew then we wanted that piece of property. And I think if I had it to do over again in my initial search, you don't need 10 acres. You don't need 20 acres. You don't need 5 acres. I have cleared about 1.5 acres, and that's all we need. Mm-hmm. I think, because I didn't know.
Right.
I'm glad I bought what I bought, because the one thing it does is keep neighbors. I don't have to worry about neighbors building around me.
Right. And we'll get to this in a moment. But at one point, you had started the foundation of a cabin, or off-grid cabin, in the center of the property, and then you deconstructed it, and now it's on the close to the road side of the property. Right.
Well, the original plan was not going to be a cabin. It was going to be a tiny house. And we ran into problems with the township and their rules. Mm-hmm. Because they said a new house had to be a minimum of 900 square feet. And what we were building, the shed, that we had bought a shed and put it on there and was going to convert that over to a house. When I called about a septic system, that's when they mentioned, oh, by the way, that's really not big enough. It's like, oh, really? So then I called the engineers, and, we went back and forth. And so I had to give that idea up. Now, the new cabin that I built is only 12 by 16, but it's strictly a recreational cabin. Mm-hmm. It's not a home. So I wasn't faced with those same restrictions.
Right. A weekend outing deal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. It's just a dry cabin. Okay. Now I'm building a house.
Right.
They've since released that 900 square foot minimum requirement. So I'm building a house that's, 16 by 40.
Okay, great. Sorry. With buying this land, were there any mistakes you made that you would do differently? Sounds like one of them may have been buying less land, but was there anything else?
Not really. I mean, it's I don't think anybody who can buy land will make a mistake. I just don't think it. There were things that, it's got a big dip, goes down into a valley and up the other side on a hill. It's not all flat. The whole 10 acres is not flat.
Right.
But that's just, I mean, that's fine with me. I don't think anything I did in purchasing it was a mistake.
And you weren't buying it for hunting or fishing. You were
No.
buying it for a weekend getaway to clear your head type of thing.
We were buying it. My idea was to have the cabin to get out to, to retire to when I got at retirement age. And also, I mean, it's in some of my earlier videos are actually part of the theme of my whole channel. It serves like a bug out location.
Right.
From a prepping standpoint. So all of those things, it suits my needs.
And your wife is one of these spouses that's on board with this. It's not a resistance. She wanted to be part of this project, or how does that work for you?
Yes. She wasn't as enthusiastic as me at first, but we both watch the news and we both understand what's going on in the country right now. Right. And there's a heightened sense of urgency on her part as well. So she's pretty much joined in with me now.
Well, also getting out there and just sitting around a campfire changes one's mind pretty quick for most people.
Yeah. Now she wanted the property.
Okay.
As far as getting the property and trying to build the homestead and everything, absolutely. That she was behind that 100%. Every piece of property we looked at, she was a part of.
Okay.
And she was a part of the decision making because she was part of making the payments.
Right. Now you've built this off-grid cabin. Some may call it a tiny house, but with all of these things, there's never an ending point. There's always something more you want to do. What has been the biggest challenge you have faced when building this tiny cabin or this off-grid cabin?
Time and money. That's been the challenge.
Because you want to get everything done in 12 hours, but it's a 3-year project.
Yeah. It could have all been done a lot more quickly. When we started building that cabin, I worked a full-time job with overtime. And my wife worked a full-time job with overtime. So we basically had, every now and then we had a weekend we could go out there. That's the weekend Mother Nature decided we needed rain. So, it took a lot longer than a 12 by 16 cabin should take. But we were in no hurry. There was no rush that it had to be done for any particular reason. But that overtime,
both of you are putting in allows you now to enjoy what you've worked so hard for.
Exactly. We don't have to struggle as much.
Right.
And a lot of that cabin I did with recycled materials and materials that was, marked down at places and factory offs. And, I would tear down an old building and use the material.
People give you free stuff.
Yes. Yep. To clean up.
You got a whole lumber yard in your barn there.
Oh, I know. It's what it's turning into.
Yeah. That's a good problem to have, Joe. Very good problem to have. Because you can always find something to build with extra lumber.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm not, I will never turn down lumber. Especially trying to build a homestead and build a house, all this stuff. You always need it.
Yeah.
So it sounds like one of the problems that you have faced in the past was with trespassers and theft. What advice can you give for new landowners to help prevent theft on their property?
It's difficult to say. When the first time they broke into our barn, they stole my chainsaws and lawnmowers and, everything that was in the barn, about my generator. And when I talked to the sheriff, he told me we were known as weekenders. Mm-hmm. So they knew that our schedule. They knew we were never there during the week, only on weekends.
Right.
So I think in hindsight, and now that I haven't had a problem for a few years, because I am out there very sporadically. There is no pattern of when I go out there. I've also managed, I put up a gate, I put up some fencing and security cameras. And I think all of those things are kind of like a deterrent.
Right.
I had a van that I would just leave parked out there.
Ah.
So it looked like somebody was living there. And, you know, one week I'd leave my van out there. Week I'd leave my pickup out there. So it just, you know, it would look like somebody was there a lot.
Yeah, who wants to? Yeah, you see that truck there. What kind of person wants to take that kind of risk? Because you don't
exactly
nowadays. You don't know who's shooting what.
Right, the drugs are prevalent out there, like they are everywhere, and they have these crews. The sheriff told me that will hit areas. They only hit the barns. They don't hit houses or anything. And they got up to mine. They came up the hill behind it and carried the stuff. We found their trail through the briars and brambles and rose thorn, or multi-floor rose, all the stickers. A couple of the things they were going to steal, they dropped because it wasn't worth carrying through all that stuff. I can't believe they took that generator through there. They really wanted that generator.
Well, to have a problem so badly that you need to steal stuff in order to make yourself feel good is a sad position to be in.
And that's everywhere.
Right.
That's not just that area. I have it right here in Wheeling, the exact same thing. So it's hard to stop it, but I'm telling you, put up gates, put up signs. I think what may have been part of the problem where I am, our property sat vacant for 30 years. So everybody hunted on it, and it took a while for people to realize that it had been sold and somebody now owns it and uses it.
Right.
And I think once that managed to get through to everybody over a few years, then, you know, the problem seemed to have stopped.
With the security cameras, without giving too much information, are these like what you would see at a Walmart, or are these trail cams that are cellular, drop to your phone in an app so you know exactly what's going on the second it happens?
Yeah, it's Ring cameras.
Okay.
For some reason, I mean, this is probably one of the few solar-powered cabins you'll ever find that has fiber optic high-speed internet. I could not believe I went out there one day and in my mailbox was a thing saying you can get internet, $45 hookup, $45 a month for 2 years. I'm like, get out of here. So I called him.
Yeah.
And the guy came out. I met him out there. And he's looking all around. He said, where do you get your power from? Because they work everything off the electric poles. Mm-hmm. And he said, where do you get your power from? I said, you see those solar panels over there? And he was like, oh, no. So they had to send a crew out to dig a trench all the way down the road to bring fiber optic to me. But that was a game changer because that allowed me to put up solar or put up my cameras, and we see and everything that goes on out there now.
Now with the solar panels, this is not just a stuff you bought, you know, El Cheapo on sale. You've got a high quality power solar panel system that goes to a very large power bank for your cabin.
Well, it's I mean, it's not that large. I found the solar panels. I found a place that sells them. They're used from solar farms.
Okay.
I mean, they're good for 20 years, 30 years. And I got a really, really good price on them. And I just, I got 6 batteries from Walmart. They're lead acid, but they're not all the fancy lithium and all that stuff. Because I didn't have the money to do everything.
Right.
So I made it work. It keeps my refrigerator running 24/7. It does my internet. It does my TV, my lights. It does what it needs to do.
And the cabin you're going to build a house or a small house.
Yes.
That everything's going to be. The house will be on power. The barn will be on power. The cabin could be if you wanted it, but is the cabin basically going to stay the way it is for the off chance that you lose power and you need kind of
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I have in the cabin, I have a 30 amp receptacle on the back of the cabin. And I just plug in my solar power to it. That's wired to my service panel. So when I have the electric out there, I can just run an extension cord to the cabin and it will have electric. But if I need to, if the power goes out, which it always does out in the country like that, I just unplug the power and plug the solar back in.
Yeah.
So we'll still have that available to us. And I have more solar panels. I bought 10 of them. I only needed 4, but it was such a good deal. I'm going to set all of them up now and have a grid-tied system into the electric so that I basically will have a net zero bill for electric.
And is that, how long do you expect? Is that going to be instantaneous, or how long does that typically take before you start seeing that net zero acquire?
Right away.
Okay.
Because they buy whatever I don't use.
Right.
So during the day, on good days, I won't come close to using what those 10 solar panels are going to produce. So all of that will go back to the electric company for a credit. And then at night, I will have the power from the electric company. And there's a possibility I'll put a couple wind turbines on the barn. Then I won't, I'll be ready if an EMP takes out the power grid.
Well, over the course of building your off-grid property, your cabin, you've used many different and bought many different items, tools, power stations, solar panels. How can someone know what to buy and what the best item is? Because we look on YouTube, 10 videos, 8 says this is great, 2 says no, it's not, and vice versa. How can one do their best? And reviews are junk altogether in most cases. How can somebody kind of trust what they need to buy or what they want to buy in order to do what they need to do and do it correctly?
That is difficult. I take all the bad ones and I discount most of them. I take all the good ones and discount most of them. And I look in there in the middle, the 3 and 4 stars that actually read any reviews. Mm-hmm. But there's no way to really know because, I have gotten a lot of stuff from companies that want me to do reviews on them. Well, naturally, people are going to give them great reviews because they want more free stuff.
Right.
I think I'm lucky because I give honest reviews. I get a lot of stuff I won't even do a review on because I tell the company, this is not worth it, and I'm not going to do that to my channel. So I'll send you the product back or whatever you want to do. But you can't, when I worked when I had my job and my career, I used to tell salesmen, this was very important, right? If you treat somebody right and do a good product, sell a good product or do it right, they might tell 2 or 3 people. Mm-hmm. But if you sell them a bad product or you treat them bad, they're going to tell everybody they know.
Right.
And so I kind of look at reviews that way, especially consumer reviews. But you just, I bought, everybody said, oh, you got to have Morningstar controllers. You got to have this you got to have this. I bought medium priced one that had good reviews, and it's lasted 3 years. But I could buy another one tomorrow that wouldn't last a month.
Yeah.
There's really no magical equation that will tell you what to buy and what not to buy.
Well, and that's the nice thing in negative but positive on YouTube. People can reach out to channels like us or you or other reputable channels and go, hey, I'm looking to buy this. I see you've bought it. Is it junk or is it really as good as what I'm seeing online it is?
Yes, that's a very good point. And yes, I didn't even think about that. People do that. They will ask me, was it worth buying that inverter? And I say, yes, it was, because it's worked flawlessly now for 3 years. And that's all I can say about it.
Right. And you want another 6 out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I just will tell people honestly, This is what, I don't try to tell people what they should buy. I just say, this is what I bought.
Right.
This is what works for me.
And now in the barn, you've got a license plate collection. Have you got,
yes.
Is there any license plates you haven't got that you're like, if I get that one, I'm done. I've got everything I want?
No.
Okay.
No. The whole barn beam license plate project started when I found a couple of old license plates in the barn. So I hung them up. And then a couple of subscribers sent me a license plate to put in the barn. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. So I started the Barn Beam License Plate Project. And people who want to feel like they're a part of the channel or a part of the barn can send me a license plate, and I do a video hanging their license plate up.
Yeah.
So it gives a connection between me and the subscribers is what that does. But, yeah, there's not anyone that I want that would say, okay, I've got enough of these things.
Okay.
I got a big barn.
Right. Water on the property. I know you're looking at capturing rainwater for the garden, but what is the long-term expectation for drinking water? Are you still bringing it in? Do you want to dig a well? What's the goal there?
We're going to do a well. The well for the original farm was put in 1996. It's 30 feet across the property line is where the well is. If they had only moved that property line 30 feet or further, I'd have it. But the county has records, and they found water at 27 feet. The water table is very high out there. So they only went 27 feet. They hit water. They only put in a 100-foot casing.
Okay.
That's it. That's all it took. So it's going to be a relatively inexpensive well when I put one in. Right now I have rain catchment I set up on the cabin. I just did that a month and a half ago. And it's really nice to be able to, I'm out there working on the weekends to go in the cabin and turn on the faucet and have water to clean up with. And I'm going to do rain catchment off the back of the barn so I can water the garden. You can't really water gardens off of a well. You don't want your well to run dry.
Right.
But yeah, rain catchment is not difficult.
So you said you're a city person, and I grew up in the city. And I know, I grew up camping, though, and I know for me, I like to get away from the city and get away from people and what have you. And I don't know if I could ever visualize myself in a off-grid cabin situation because it's just a little bit too far from a Target store for me. But what sparked your interest in becoming off-grid or just having your own little piece of property away from from the city?
Well, like you, I loved camping and backpacking and hiking. When my kids were in the Boy Scouts, I was in the Boy Scouts. We did all of that. I really enjoyed it. We would go, we upgraded with age from tents to a pop-up,
right,
to a trailer. But it's because I just liked camping and I liked it out in the wilderness. And it's so expensive now to join a campground or travel like that. I have my own.
Right.
And I have a Walmart 10 miles from my cabin in the town of Cambridge. I mean, that's a good-sized town. There's all the restaurants and stores and all that. I'm, 10, 12 miles away from all that. So I'm not out in the boonies.
Far enough away, but close enough.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm up on top of my hill, and, if anything happened, I would be one of the last people that people would manage to get to. So that's what led me to it. And I just want a life where I don't have to worry about the debt. I don't have to worry as much about how much it's going to cost me to go to the grocery store. It's all to be more self-reliant. Because if you factor in how much less I'm going to have to spend while living out there, I'll actually probably wind up with more money because I'm retired now.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's like it costs so little to live out there. That's why it's worth it. That's why I want to do it. I don't want to be in debt. I don't want to be a consumer so much. I was tired of being a consumer. That's what led me to try it.
Yeah, we totally understand. So we've really enjoyed having you on the program. Joe, can you tell our listeners how to find out more about your videos and yourself, all of your great YouTube videos?
Yeah, it would be St. Bernard Acres. I mean, that's my only really social presence. Did the YouTube video. And right now, I'll put this out there because of my experience with buying a shed, doing a shed to house conversion, which seems to be a very popular thing right now. What I'm doing on my channel right now, I'm building a shed, basically, that I will convert to a house. But by me building it, it's going to cost probably half of what it would be to get one of those sheds that you see on the side of the roads, and a quarter of what it would be if you rent to own one. Mm-hmm. And the way I'm doing it is my part-time job every week, I buy whatever lumber I can afford that week. And I'm building this house in the barn in sections. And then in October, I'm going to have all the sections built to have it, a dried-in shed, basically.
Right.
And a whole bunch of people, subscribers are coming in October, and we're just going to spend a weekend and put the building together.
An Amish barn building.
Yeah, that's one way to do it.
Yeah.
For a lot less money. And my shed, my 16 by 40 shed, will be much more substantial than the sheds that you go buy from these shed companies, rent-to-own companies.
Right.
So I want people to learn that they can do that. It's not something you have to be rich, and you don't have to go into debt to do it. I could use credit cards and buy all the material and all the lumber I need, and wind up with that shed and paying $800 a month, $900 a month in credit card bills. Well, then I couldn't afford to do the inside.
Yeah.
So this way you can build it, have your shed, and then once you've got it dried in, then you can start working on the inside. You don't have any bills. You don't have a monthly payment for rental on the shed. So yeah, that's the whole idea behind my channel, is to show people what I'm doing and how you can do it, how anybody can do it.
Well, Joe, we greatly appreciate the time you've offered and the information that you've shared with all of us. I'm
glad to do it. And I appreciate the information I get from you gardeners, because I know nothing about a garden.
Absolutely.
I'm putting in my very first one. I've never done a garden before. I bought a tiller. I tilled up an area. I don't even know what to plant. I have no idea. I haven't bought any seed yet or seedlings. I don't know how to do it. But I can watch your kinds of channels, and that helps me a lot learn.
Right.
I got a 20-foot by 40-foot area all tilled up now. And any advice I get, anybody wants to jump on my channel and say, hey, plant this or plant it this way, that's what I'll do. I want to try and see if anything works. Throw some seeds out and see what comes up.
Right. Well, we certainly appreciate Joe stopping in, sharing a lot of his wisdom with us about his purchase of land and his off-grid cabin as well.
Yeah, it was really great, helpful information, and just a lot of takeaways if you were to do this similar type of thing.
He's done it.
Yeah, he's done it, and he's just got a lot of great advice, and also kind of getting community involved as well.
Yes.
For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.